On this latest episode, I originally was going to do first a two episode on different occasions. One was going to be ChocoPro 218 with NWA USA. However, that's not the case. So I decided to do a five review instead, involving ChocoPro, GLEAT with G Pro Wrestling version 22, NWA USA, AEW Battle of the Belts 2, and of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling Windy City Riot. And of course, we got some interesting news updates. One regarding Juice Robinson's contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. And of course, the surprising return of Konami, who left Stardom due to health issues. What exactly does she has planned? Well, we'll find out on this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, let's begin with ChocoPro 218. We had three interesting matches that took place. The first one, we have Too Much Energy, Chiko Shikawa taking on Antonia Honda. Now, this was a pretty good, interesting matchup because if you guys know this, Honda has this little puppet made out of kind of like a fox puppet, while Chio Koshikawa has developed this new puppet of hers, Sharky or something. Let's just call him Sharky. That's what I like to call him. But it was really fun. However, Chio Koshikawa will put all her energy against a guy like Honda. But however, at some point Honda would try to throw in a bit of the comedy routine. However, Chiko Shikawa tried to avoid it, but to no avail. She was pinned by Honda in this particular match, allowing himself to win. So I have to say Chiko Shikawa may have not won this match, but however, we know she'll do better against them at some point. Our next match, we got Tokiko Kiyahara teaming up with Yona Mizumori to take on one half of the. Give me my cat. Hold on. Come on. Come on. Pardon me about that. So anyway, what was I? Tokiko Kihara teaming up with Yuna Mizumori to take on one half of CDK and tag champion Masahiro Takanashi, and of course the Super Asia champion Balinaki. Now, as you know, there could be title implications in this particular match. I mean, Tokiko could pin either Masa to get a title shot or Balin. Same thing with Yuna. But however, the real question does remain: can Masa and Balinaki can coexist due to the fact that they have battled each other before? Balin is one half of the best bros, while of course Masa is CDK. That is one of the most interesting dynamics. However, they did manage to coexist due to the fact that they know what's at stake. Neither of them want to be pinned by either woman to get a shot of the tag titles, the titles that they currently hold. But it was, of course, Balinaki who made the final pin when he jumped off the window and landed on Yuna Mizumori on Tokiko Kihara to pick up the victory. 1, 2, 3. It was a pretty good match. So I have to say they did coexist well, but let's see if they can get lucky again at some other time. Now, our main event, we have Sayaka taking on the Big Apple, and of course, the challenger for the Stardom High Speed Championship, Mei Suga. Now, I was impressed by this match in particular. Reason I say this, if you guys notice, Sayaka is part of the fourth generation girls trained by Emi Sakura. She has grown so much ever since then. I think she's been with Got to Move for the past 2 years, and she has learned a lot. She has grown so much, has done better um, ways in her trade, in her craft as a wrestler, and I think that's what makes her unique. I was like pretty much impressed. Come on, come on, come on. Sorry, my cat's driving me nuts. Anyway, Sayaka really has grown so much. She has put in a lot of good technique since then. But however, as you know, Mei Suga has been with this promotion for the past 4 years. So that means she has 2 years of more of experience from Sayaka. So a lot of things has changed. But I have to say, to me personally, as a fan, I think this is one of Sayaka's best matches so far. But however, she did not. She came up short when Mei Suga put her in that submission, and of course she had no other choice but to tap out. I don't know what she calls it, but it's that's how she ended the match. Now, as for the Jonkin tournament, anything could happen. If you want to know, Mei Suga did not make it to the finals. Neither did Yuna, Masa, Honda. But I think the best showdown in this particular match was Chiko Shikawa and Balinaki. The reason I say this, both of them were wearing referee shirts. Chiko Shikawa was refereeing the match that Balinaki was in. Balinaki was the one refereeing the match that Mei Suga and Sayaka was in. So it was a pretty good showdown. Now, I was a bit nervous, like when, oh my God, who was going to walk out as the Junkin winner? Well, to my surprise, it was Balinaki who somehow outsmarted Chiko Shikawa. Chiko Shikawa has this kind of a attitude when she loses or when she wins. But this time she lost when she pulled paper. Balin did scissors. So he won the the Jonkin match. So that means he is 2 for 2. However, for the next ChocoPro event is a singles match for the Age of Dream Tag Team Championship between CDK and the new team of Sayaka Obihiro and Kazukozbo, the Lizard. So I think that's pretty much it. What took place in ChocoPro, I believe, it's time for GLEAT. Okay, so GLEAT G Pro Wrestling version 22 that took place on the 16th of April. It started off with the signing contract for the G-Rex Championship that is currently being held by the first and only champion himself, Lindaman. Now he issued this challenge to, the rival faction member Quiet Storm from Bulk Orchestra, and of course, both Quiet Storm gladly accepted. Now, not much of what they were talking about made sense to me, but you can tell this is going to be interesting because Quiet Storm, he is a big individual. He seems like he could squash El Lindaman, but El Lindaman, he is one of the most strongest competitors in GLEAT, and there's a reason why. Now let's go to our opening match. We have, of course, Soma Watanabe, Yu Izuka, and Towa Awazaki to take on the members of Bulk Orchestra, Kazuma Sakamoto, Nobuhiro Shamatina, and Ryuichi Kawakami. Now, in this match, I have to say the first team did a pretty good job. But however, Bulk Orchestra has demonstrated time and time again they are a dominant faction since they've been at war with Strong Hearts. That gives them the better edge. But however, it was Ryuichi Kawakami who picked up the victory when he took out um, Isuka with a somewhat of a power bomb and won in that way. Now our next match, we got women action. We got Michiko Miyagi taking on Madeline. Now keep in mind, Madeline and Michiko have been at odds with each other since last month. Um, what happened is Madeline beat her in a UWF rules match, which deep down Michiko have felt that she's been overthrown. But in recent time, in Madeline's making her appearances in GLEAT, it appears that GLEAT are really recognizing her as a really good competitor. The only two official women involved in GLEAT are, in fact, Michiko Miyagi and, of course, um, Yukari something I forgot, formerly known as Rin. But I have to say this match was pretty interesting. But Michiko has showed her powerness, how she is very much of a how she throws in a bit of the powerhouse type. I look at Madeline and she does have a bit of the submission techniques and she has a bit of the MMA background. I'm not sure if she does have any jiu-jitsu techniques that she's a bit aware of, but I have been aware in her past before jumping into wrestling she was a MMA fighter. For 1 year or two, I'm not sure, but unfortunately that did not help. She was power bombed by Madeline, but in this particular match, I don't know if anybody noticed. You can see this on YouTube. It's on their GLEAT homepage. Madeline's head bopped off the mat. She might have hurt herself. I'm not sure because she wasn't moving that much, but she seems that she was conscious. But however, I don't know if she was. I think she was disoriented. She lost the match, but we'll see what happens then. I'm sure she'll bounce back from this particular match from Michiko. Next match, we have singles competition. We got Masato Kamino taking on Hayato Tomura of Bulk Orchestra. Now, as you know, Bulk Orchestra has always been proving their dominance. I was a bit of surprise how this one ended with Tamura, who pulled off a triangle armbar submission that allowed him to pick up a good win against Camino. So that's a win. Two for two with Bulk Orchestra. Our next match we have is a UWF rules tag team match. We got Takaku Fuke and Hitamuru Sasaki to take on Takanori Ito and Minoru Tanaka. Now, I have to say the match was pretty good, but however, the way this match ended, it resulted of a KO by um, Ito to Fuke, and he didn't get up. So basically, he was counted out while he was laying down on the ground, and it allowed for Ito and Tanaka to pick up a good match, a good victory actually. Next up, we got Strong Hearts, T-Hawk, Issei Onisuka, and Sima to take on the new faction known as 30 Seconds. Now, keep in mind, 30 Seconds have become a problem within GLEAT's factions, Bulk Orchestra and Strong Hearts. They will not tolerate this group. Now, Bulk Orchestra, in the recent GLEAT show, they defeated them. Now, Strong Hearts, to prove, let's see what they got. However, it was, how do I say, Isuka who picked up the victory by pinfall onto Tonsho, and it was over right there. So hopefully 30 Seconds can pick up some momentum to get them on the top. Now our main event is the G-Rex Championship. We have Quiet Storm of Bulk Orchestra taking on Strong Hearts Lindaman, who is the champion. I thought this match was pretty good because the way I see it, Lindaman, he's a very short dude. He is a big powerhouse. I like to consider him like the male version of Miu Watanabe of Tokyo Pro, because if you guys ever seen Miu is 5 foot. She can pick up someone heavy, and she was almost on the verge of picking up Aja Khan, but it was just too much. But El Lindemann was much stronger, and he did a German suplex onto Quiet Storm to pick up the victory. So it was pretty good. But now the real this now, since he won this match, this was his first official title defense. Real question is, who will step up to challenge him for this title? Now, I'm not sure if I heard this correctly. I'm not a translator or anything. I don't know if El Lindemann is asking someone from StrongHearts to challenge him. That is a good thing to hear, but I'm not 100% sure. But we'll find out in the near future with El Lindemann and the G-Rex Championship. So I think that's pretty much it what we got with them. I believe it's time to move on with NWA USA. Okay, NWA USA opened up with May Valentine having an interview with the Fixers. Now, the Fixers have been now in a pissed off mood. Now, the reason is what happened last time. Black G somehow was able to pay off Jack Stain to ensure that they will never get a title shot for the national championship. So basically, they're pissed that this was fixed on Black G's and their favor. And of course, they have every right to be angry. But the real question does remain, will they go to war against Black G's and the rest of Austin Idol Mania? Because the way I see it, Black G's is trying to prove that Marche Rock is a much bigger star that he should be. But of course, Jack Stain doesn't consider that they are worthy enough for a championship. But we'll see down the line. Our first match we have is um, Magic Jake Dumas taking on Eric Johnson. Now, Dumas has been a real prick. Try to play by the set of rules, using cigarette butts to get away with it, using playing cards into his advantage, like cutting them into pieces. If you guys remember Jimmy Havoc, he did that with paper. So basically, that's what he's been pulling off to. So, in that particular way, however, Dumas was able to pick up a good match against him. However, he tried to play a magic trick with Kyle Davis, but he decided to continue to brutalize Eric Johnson. So we'll see what happens then. Now, it appears that there's been now a particular feud between Kerry Morton and Kobe Carino. Now, keep in mind, Kerry Morton has been on a tear. Basically, people are talking about him. Kobe Carino doesn't think that he is a second generation wrestler. He thinks that, he's not in the same level as him. Now, Kerry Morton does have every right to make a name for himself, and due to the fact that he is the son, he's a third generation wrestler. His grandfather was a wrestler. His dad's a wrestler. Kobe Carino thinks he's a much higher purpose than that, but Kerry wants to have a match with him to right a wrong that took place in the tournament of the junior heavyweight division. But Kobe doesn't want that, but he may have no other choice at some point. But we'll see what takes place. Now, our main and last match was Ariya Daivari, who called out Nick Aldis, demanding a match because, if you guys know this or not, Nick Aldis is good friends with Sean Daivari, Ariya's brother. So basically, he took offense that Nick Aldis is not talking to him, that sort of thing. And I think he took offense to that. But the real question does remain. Did Ariya Daivari bit off more than he can chew? Answer that, he did. he ended up in the wrong side of a Texas cloverleaf. So basically, he had to tap out. Now the real question is this: where does Ariya go? Ariya Daivari goes from there? Well, we'll see. But we do know where Nick Aldis needs to go. He wants to get another shot of the um, 10 pounds of gold again against Matt Cardona. But we'll see what happens in the future for that. So I think that's pretty much it. What we got with with NWA, and I believe it's time for AEW Battle of the Belts 2. All right, AEW Battle of the Belts Part 2. Opening match, we have the TNT Championship with the challenger, two-time TNT champion Sammy Guevara being accompanied by his girlfriend Tay Conti. They take on Scorpio Sky and Ethan, who's being accompanied by All Ego, Ethan Page, and Dan Lambert. Now, keep in mind, Scorpio Sky does not want to challenge him, but of course, Sammy had to go over his head and go straight to Tony Khan, which is a smart move. Now, basically, Scorpio Sky thinks that to go into Tony Khan is a really a cowardly move for him. But however, Scorpio Sky said that he will not challenge anybody. The open challenge will be closed. Now, however, Sammy was very impressive, tried to get his match back, but however, you know that the interference with Lambert and Ethan Page was going to come about, which it did. Tay Conti even tried to intervene to stop it, but once again, Page Van Zandt showed up to get, thinking it'll give them the better edge. However, while the referee was distracted with the mayhem going on outside between Page and Tay Conti, Scorpio Sky got low blowed by Sammy Guevara because Sky actually gouged out his eyes. He played fire with fire. Dan Lambert was trying to tell ref that he gave him a low blow, but however, the rule of thumb, referee did not see it and he walked away as a three-time TNT champion. So I can finally picture that um, Dan Lambert is gonna bitch about it, complain about how this was a conspiracy, how Scorpio Sky lost, tell Tony Khan that he'll get another rematch, that sort of thing. But we'll see where they're gonna go with that. Now, our next match is the Ring of Honor World Championship between Dalton Castle, who is a former ROH champion, where he won that title once before against Cody Rhodes, takes on the Octopus, and he is the Foundation, Jonathan Gresham. I have to say it was a pretty good darn match because, you know, these two, I don't think these two have ever faced off each other. I'm not 100% sure, but if there is, someone please comment that on for me. But I have to say it was Gresham's Octopus submission that sealed the deal for him, forcing Dalton Castle to win. However, during post-match, Lethal, Dutt, and their new guy named Setman Singh shows up, taking out the boys and Dalton Castle, then Gresham. However, Samoa Joe shows up with a big lead pipe and he whacked Dutt in the back. But this is not far from over. As you know, Joe will get his revenge on Lethal and Singh for getting away. So this is going to be an interesting thing that's going to take place. Now, our final match is the AEW Women's Championship. Nyla Rose versus Thunder Rosa. Now, keep in mind, Nyla Rose has been trying for quite some time to get back in the AEW Women's title hunt. However, then, of course, you know, basically, Vicky Guerrero has been insulting Thunder Rosa, saying that she is not a native of Texas. However, Texas have been her adopted home since she became U.S. citizen. But, however, Vicky got accidentally taken out by Nyla Rose. But the way this match was pretty good, it showed how no matter how much of a powerhouse Nyla Rose is to Thunder Rosa, she will not back down or say die or quit. But it was, of course, a Hurricanrana that sealed the deal to Thunder Rosa to retain the Women's Championship. So, now that that's out of the way, who is the next competitor? Will Nalaros get another opportunity? We just gotta wait and see who will be the lucky one. Right now, it's time to do our final review, and I believe is New Japan Pro Wrestling's Windy City Riot. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling are in Chicago for Windy City Riot. Opening match, AEW's The Factory, Nick Camarado, Aaron Solo, and QT Marshall to take on the LA Dojo, Yuya Umura, Clark Connors, and Carl Fredericks. Now, this took place during Strong Style Evolve in the last show they had a week ago. QT Marshall shows up, looked more like he was trying to recruit Carl Fredericks, telling him that it's a load of waste of time that he had to be trained by Shibata, telling him that he needs better training, disrespecting the LA dojo, but Carl Fredericks will not tolerate. So the rest of Connors and Yuya Umura will not tolerate the disrespect by QT. But Fredericks set up this match for this particular night. It was a pretty good darn one. But however, QT cheated his way through when the ref wasn't looking. He kicked Yuya Umura right in the low blow to put off the diamond cutter. He may have walked out as a victory, but I wouldn't be surprised if the LA Dojo members decide to pop up in AEW to get their retribution, since he embarrassed them in their house. How would he feel if they embarrassed at his house? That would be an interesting thing to watch. Now, our next match, we have Team Filthy, consistent of Danny Limelight, uh, Royce Isaacs, Jarrell Nelson, Kratos, and Lawler to take on Chris Dickinson, Josh Alexander, Alex Coughlin, Red Narita, and Fred Rosser. Now, keep in mind, Rosser is determined to get another shot of the Strong Openweight Championship, which Lawler refuses to do that unless he proves himself. But that kind of puts in. But I think the best moments in this, there was some best moments in this match, but mostly coming from Alex Coughlin and Kratos. Man, that those two guys in the ring is classic. You know, I have to say, you don't get to see something like that every day. But however, Fred Rosser took out um, fake Black Tiger with the crossface chicken, allowing himself to win. However, Lawler did not. No, Lawler did not like what he saw. But however, Yuji Nagata shows up to give a helping hand, and he challenged for the Strong Openweight Championship, and he did. But unfortunately, Lawler got the better of him by using the chokehold onto Yuji Nagata, forcing him to pass out and win the match. Once again, he proved that he is the strongest individual, but sooner or later, Rosser will get that shot and dethrone Lawler because he only has one pin on him. That is something we can expect. Now we see the full force of the United Empire. We have Aussie Open consistent of Kyle Fletcher, Mark Davis, then TJP, Aaron Henare, Jeff Cobb, and Great Khan to take on the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson, Bay, Hikuleo, El Fantasmo, and their newest member, an NWA legend, Scott Norton. Of course, you heard me right, is now official. Scott Norton is now the new member of Bullet Club. I have to say it's great because I think it shows. If you guys know this or not, Scott Norton has been a huge influential going to Japan. He's been competing in New Japan Pro Wrestling for many years, all the way to the 90s. And I think it's a perfect fit for him to join a faction that is almost similar to what he did with the NWO. And I thought it was pretty good. However, the most impressive debut was Aussie Open showing them what they can do in the ring. They have shown they are the most dominant tag team, even though they have dominated tag team in their native land of Australia and their second home, the UK. So they were able to take out Chris Bay, 1, 2, 3. United Empire showed their dominance. Next up, we got a Chicago street fight with Bad Dude Tito teaming with TMDK, which is Shane Hayes and Jonah, to take on Brody King and Juice Robinson and Dave Finlay. Now, Finlay wants to get his hands on Jonah for hurting his younger brother Brogan, and I thought this match showed a lot of heart with Finlay trying to show him he'll get his revenge for what he did to his brother, and he did. He uses his father's stick on him a bunch of times until it was over. It gave Brody King and Vin Juice a perfect win, and I had to say it was a really good one. Now our next match is the US of J Open US of an Open Challenge. Now, as soon as Jay White was in the ring, we see Moxley in the video. He tells someone, "Hey, go get him, Shooter." And my God, it's Shota Schumacher, also known as Shooter. Now, those who are in the channel, those who may or may not have heard who this guy is, I'll tell you who he is. Shota Umino is in fact a wrestler who was in the New Japan dojo. He currently went on excursion to Rev Pro, but the reason he has a connection with Moxley is this. When Moxley first appeared in New Japan back in 2019, I believe. Yeah, 2019. He was in a match against Shota Umino. So Shota, or as they call him, Shooter, became his young lion. Basically, the guy who follows him around, learns from him, all this. So they became good friends. And of course, he uses the paradigm shift, or as he call it in New Japan, the Death Rider, on his opponents. And Shooter has been making a name for himself with RevPro ever since then for about 2 years. And now that he came back, originally he was supposed to come back yesterday last year at the LA Coliseum, but due to the COVID restriction, it forbade him to ever coming. But this time it showed. I have to say, Shooter has now grown so much. Now, here's another fun fact about Shooter that you guys don't know about. Shooter's dad is none other than our famous referee in New Japan, Red Shoes. Yes, that's his dad. So basically, I was surprised. But I have to say, Shooter has grown so much. He has shown that he can hang with guys like him. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if Shooter ends up being a member of the Blackpool Combat Club in Japan. That would be something to have. a direct link between AEW and New Japan. I have to say, Shooter is the perfect guy to spread in Japan. But unfortunately, he ended up in the Blade Runner. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Now, our next match, these two guys have been at war with each other multiple times. Who is the strongest individual? We're talking about the Stone Pitbull, Tomohiro Ishii, versus the King, Minoru Suzuki. Now, you know how this is going to go. They go back and forth. These guys are not afraid to throw a punch or a chop or whatever. They love to beat the crap out of each other, no matter what it is. But it was the brainbuster by Tomohiro Ishii that sealed the deal twice onto Suzuki to pick up a good victory. But of course, Suzuki is livid that he lost to him, but it happened. Now, our main event, we have Will Ospreay versus Jon Moxley. This particular match started when, of course, Moxley said that he wants to challenge the best wrestlers in Japan. He made names like Okada, Tanahashi, Naito. But there was one name that he did not put in, and this guy felt offense to that, and that person was Ospreay. He's like saying, "Are you effing kidding me? I'm the best wrestler. You picking these guys?" So he took offense saying, "I'm right here." But however, Moxley was like, "I thought we were cool, bro. You know, we had Korean barbecue. You even invite me to your place." So basically, it was more like, yeah, we were cool until you ruined my freaking couch. That's what he says. But the only problem is, Will Ospreay will not tolerate the fact that he was overlooked by Moxley. But of course, during the match, you know how Moxley is when you make him bleed. He goes ballistic. It makes him even more dangerous. Even though the hidden blade that did not even put him away, that kind of put Osprey in a bad mood, knowing that he's doing everything possible. He couldn't even put the Stonebreaker onto him, but it was Moxley when he did two Death Riders and then put him in the Bulldog. Referee called the match and decided to say that the match goes to John Moxley, but Will Ospreay is livid. Now, I don't know if people saw this. This match ended before it was announced that Moxley win. This could be a controversy. I wouldn't be surprised if Will Ospreay goes back to Japan, tells them there's a conspiracy against him. Maybe so, but we'll see what happens when he complains starting on Monday on the latest shows they're going to do. So, I think that's pretty much it with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I believe it's time for some news updates. Okay, here are some news updates for everybody. It was announced recently, as you all know, Juice Robinson told a while back that he was a free agent from New Japan. Well, apparently, it was revealed that he had an extension with them for some shows here in the U.S., which is cool. I have to say, no problem. However, it was now revealed that his extension expires by April 30th. I mean, this is really sad. I know he made a name for himself. Now, some of you are probably saying, you know, is he going to AEW or anything? Well, first things first, there's a reason why he decided to end his tenure with New Japan. For him, he felt that he wants to spend less time being at home and wrestle less, and it's understandable. Keep in mind, wrestlers who go to Japan is very difficult while you traveled to Japan from US to Japan and you have to stay there for quite some time doing a tour. It gets a little nerve-wracking, but for Robinson, he made that choice, and some of you are probably saying, what's next for him? Now, it's not too far off that we could see him in Impact. Impact are always welcoming in, and some of you probably say, what about AEW? I mean, isn't he his fiance there? I mean, yes, it could play out too. I mean, I'm sure that Tony Storm would love to have him there so they can be closer together. You know, we already have a couple of couples down in AEW. It would fit. But it's still don't know. But whatever Juice makes the decision, we will be right there for him to show him our support. Now, our last update. Now, for the record, I want to say this to people before you speculate. I did not watch the latest Stardom show. Reason is I haven't seen it, but this one is too uh, not to it's too good to pass not to pass up the update. So, what happens here? It's what happened. I will not talk about the event, but this particular part that took place during the event is important. Stardom received a video package from Konami. Yes, folks. The submission sniper has sent her video. Now, some of you probably question is this where she's been if you guys haven't been following. Last year, Konami had some health issues, something to do with her kidneys. I'm not 100% what they call it, but however, it forced her to be pulled on many events, especially her match with Sudi for the UWF match that they were supposed to have in Tokyo Cyber Super Wars, but it ended up in the Osaka Super Wars, I believe. But since then, Konami did stated that because of her health issues, she did not her contract with Stardom was to expire by the end of the year of 2021. Her last match was against Julia, but she did stick around to see her closest friend, Sudi, someone who she considers a respectable friend because they both have similar backgrounds, Sudi. So here's what took place. Konami said that she'll make her return to Stardom and that she will be joining God's Eye in the Golden Week series. Now that is huge news. Now some of you probably questioned, why would Konami wants to join God's Eye? She and Sudi have a bit of a bond together. They've been rivals, they've been friends. They're not afraid to fight each other. But however, Sudi has been making headways ever since she became the Red Belt champion, and not to mention forming her own faction known as God's Eye, recruiting Amisori as the first member, and then Mirai voluntarily become the third member. Konami would make sense because Sudi did stated God's Eye will be the strongest faction, and she's not lying. So far, we saw Mirai win 2 or 3 matches in her tournament, but this is huge news. However, because of this, her announcement joining God's Eye, this ticked off Starlight Kid and Momo Watanabe, members of Oda Tai. Now, if you guys remember, Konami was a member of Oda Tai for since 20, I think, yeah, since 2020 until she betrayed Tokyo Cyber Squad. Some of you probably question is, why would Konami not rejoin Oda Tai? That's a good question. For example, let's talk about that. Azuki was a member of Oda Tai before she made her untimely retirement back in 2019. Now, we weren't sure we will ever see her again until, what was it? 2021, when she made her return into the wrestling ring for the Hanakamura tribute show alongside Kagetsu. You know the old saying, never say never. Hazuki made her return back to Stardom, but many fans thought in the back of their minds that she was going to rejoin Oda Tai, but unfortunately she did not. But she was invited to join Stars, who she teamed up with Kokuma, who's a member Stars. They've been friends since their dojo days. It would make sense. So, of course, Konami accepted. Azuki accepted Stars as her new home. Now with Konami, in her case, she always liked Sudi. She respects her. She likes her. They're both similar. It would make sense for her to join her. So the question is, why not? So now fans, I'm hearing on social media, are saying, get ready. We're about to see a war between both Oda Tai and God's Eye. But I think the real question puts out, what does Natsuko Tora thinks about this? I know Starlight Kid and Momo Watanabe don't like what just transpired. They think there's some sort of suspicious act going on here. Thing is this. Sudi was with DDM at the time. Konami with Oda Tai. Why not team up with team up outside of those factions? And I think that's what it tells us. I think that's what the story tells us. I think they're better off working together than against each other. And I think that tells us that Konami can be a fine addition. However, is she's back with Stardom full time? Answer to that, no. She said that she's going to be a freelancer. Basically, she will be working with Stardom as a freelancer. They will book her whatever events. Now, keep in mind, we still don't know what's the extent of her health issues, but hopefully she'll be better. But I wouldn't be surprised if she does become a member of God's Eye part-time. But we'll see what happens then. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode, me doing 5 reviews and these news updates. Coming up, I haven't made any plans because things, how this particular episode turned out to be, has kind of not given me the chance to plan everything. But there is one thing I am able to review for the following episode, which is the latest ChocoPro show 219, which is a one match of that show that will only have the Asian Dream Tag Team Championship, CDK versus Sayaka Obihiro and Kappa Kozo. That's going to be an interesting match to watch. Haven't decided what else I'm going to, but I am considering maybe House of Glory and possibly past the 2 past DDT events. I'm not 100% sure yet. Um, I'll just keep that as a surprise for everybody and see what you guys think. But right now, I'll think I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah, and have a nice day.